All right, folks. This just got broadcast over Twitter. Um, yeah, go ahead, Eli, and call it Twitter because you might as well. My fellow Americans, over the past 3.5 years, we have made great progress as a nation. Today, America has the strongest economy in the world. We've made historic investments in rebuilding our nation and in lowering prescription drug costs for seniors and in expanding affordable health care to a record number of Americans. We've provided critically needed care to 1 million veterans exposed to toxic substances, passed the first gun safety law in 30 years, appointed the first African American woman to the Supreme Court, and passed the most significant climate legislation in the history of the world. America has never been in a better position to lead than we are today. I know none of this could have been done without you, the American people. Together, we overcame a once in a century pandemic and the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. We We've protected and preserved our democracy, and we've revitalized and strengthened our alliances around the world. It has been the greatest honor in my life to serve as your president. And while it has been my intention to seek re-election, I believe that it is in the best interest of my party and the country for me to stand down and to focus solely on fulfilling my duties as president for the remainder of my term. I will speak to the nation later this week in more detail about my decision. For now, let me express my deepest gratitude to all of those who worked so hard to see me reelected. I want to thank Vice President Kamala Harris for being an extraordinary partner in all this work. And let me express my heartfelt appreciation for the American people for their faith and trust you have placed in me. I believe today what I always have, that there is nothing America can't do when we do it together. We just have to remember we are the United States of America. Sincerely, your President Joe Biden. Joe Biden has decided to step down from his campaign. He is going to finish his term. He is going to go. He's going to go lame duck, which means he may go scorched earth. At this point, there's no reason. There is a reason not to, because if you go scorched earth, you make it very difficult you make it almost impossible, for who's coming behind you. He has indeed, and I'm going to read that to you right now too. He has indeed endorsed Kamala Harris. This was at 2:13, about 2 hours ago. This was put on Twitter. Yes, call it Twitter. My fellow Democrats, I have decided not to accept the nomination and focus all my energies on my duties as president for the remainder of my term. My very first decision as party nominee in 2020 was to pick Kamala Harris as my vice president, and it has been the best decision I've made. Today, I want to offer my full support and endorsement for Kamala to be the nominee of our party this year. Democrats, it's time to come together and beat Trump. Let's do this. So now, not only has he stepped down from his campaign, he has endorsed his vice president, Kamala Harris. So this should assuage some of the madness that we saw coming during the Democrat convention. Well, if it will or not, we're going to see. That's where we are now. Enjoy the show. Well, good afternoon. My name is Willie Lawson. This is the Morning Report. The Morning Report is a production of fightbackmedia.com, 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 and fightbackmediatv.com. President Biden has ended his campaign. We were all wondering, after the debate and how that went. There have been so many calls from the Democrat Party, and that's the amazing part. It's been from the Democrat Party and those leaders and people who are the deep pocket donors. When you lose Hollywood, when you lose George Clooney, and you lose some of these other people, and they say that you ought to back down, Democrats pay attention to that stuff. I don't think Republicans pay attention to that stuff as much. Some do, but Democrats pay attention to that stuff, and the money will dry up. I've said to you on this platform before, the blood of campaigns is money. And some of you think that this is not how it should be, but it most certainly is. because how do you get to people? How do you show up on television? How do you fly from place to place and do rallies, especially at the national level, especially at the presidential level? How do you do that? It's money. Well, they saw the money drying up. And the best way to ensure that they had a shot, all things being equal, if all things are going to be equal, was to switch out their candidates. Kind of late in the game for that. It makes it, I'll tell you what, the genius of it is that it makes it tough for the Republicans to refocus their campaign, because their campaign had been Trump v. Biden. Biden's weak. Look at him. Biden's policies, Biden this, Biden that, Biden the other. This is why when you decide to make your whole campaign about an individual and not make it about policy, you make it about personality and not policy, you are going to be in trouble. Now, a couple of things are happening right now. Actually, a bunch of things are happening right now behind the scenes that none of us can see. All the Democrat operatives are running like crazy to make sure that they can prop up Kamala Harris. Now if we remember Kamala Harris, her presidential campaign ended before the first primary. Why? Because the blood of campaigns is money, and she didn't have any support from any of the major donors. So that's not going to work. I mean, that's just how it is. Now you can like it or dislike it, and you could, feel one way or another about it, but that's the truth of it. If you're about the truth, that's the truth of it. Her presidential campaign didn't make it to the first primary, which was what was surprising, that she got picked for the vice presidential slot, because it didn't look like she was going to be the one to follow up. She wasn't going to be the natural person to follow Joe Biden. And it's still like that. So nothing's changed. I mean, her popularity, and I hate that word, and I hate that we go through all that. Her popularity hasn't increased one single solitary iota, not a bit, not one inch. As a matter of fact, if anything, it's gone down. The sad part for her is that there were many opportunities. With a declining Joe Biden, she could have very easily decided to sort of step her game up, but that didn't happen. She didn't step her game up. As a matter of fact, there was a point in this administration where she seemed to be pouting because she wasn't getting to do the things that she wanted to do. Her staff was pouting, and they were quitting left and right because they didn't have the position they thought they should have, as opposed to biding their time and working their ass off. That's not what they did. So her popularity sunk. The border situation, when she was put in charge, quote unquote, of the border, popularity sunk. And now she's gonna. I'm sorry for regular Americans. She's going to be a very, very hard sell. A very hard sell, which doesn't mean the Republicans should be high-fiving. Not by any stretch of the imagination. What Republicans are going to have to do, and they're doing this right now, is they're going to have to make sure that they can switch and make sure that Kamala Harris is attached to all of these policies. Now, I told you, vice presidents don't do anything. It's the cushiest job in America. Easily the cushiest job in America. They don't do anything. They don't set policies. They don't do any of that kind of stuff. But the Republican Party is going to have to attach Kamala Harris to all of Joe Biden's policies. And they're going to have to do that really fast. They're going to have that ready to go tonight. Now, are they? I don't know. I think that this move made it more difficult right now for Kamala Harris, for the Republicans to continue their gain of getting black voters on the Republican side. Because this is another, Lord have mercy, help me, Jesus, historical moment. Now we have an historical moment. How do you think Barack Obama got elected? There were there were people where I live who were Republicans, who were in the Republican, who were on the Republican committee, executive committee, that voted for Barack Obama. I know they did. There was a the president of a Republican club that voted for Barack Obama. It wasn't me, not at all. But this whole idea of this is an historic moment, and this is what we're going to hear. We're going to hear that phrase. Oh my God, I'm so glad that the Sunday shows are over now, but starting tomorrow morning, first thing, all you're going to hear about is that this is an historic moment. And you want to be on the right side of history, right? This may indeed be an historic moment, but Kamala Harris is not the one. She is not the one. Republicans, those of you that support Donald Trump, here's what you do: continue to work, continue to campaign, continue to stay on the issues, on the policies. Continue to do that. Don't fall into the foolishness. Continue to work, because that's really the only plan forward. That's really the only way forward. Because you will have the same thing that you had with Barack Obama, but worse. Why? Because Kamala Harris is sporting a vagina. So, yes, you are going to have to stick to issues and stay laser focused on issues. Now, a lot of you who are out there on Twitter, yes, Elon, just call it Twitter again, because everybody out here calls it Twitter. Hell, nobody calls it X, because that's dumb. Are still, we see a lot of you who are still in middle school. It seems the things that you post seem very middle schoolish. Stop it. Absolutely stop it. Now, if you can't find anything, to post that is issues and fact based, keep it to yourself. This is so important. I'm going to say this. It's time for the adults to lead the way. It's time for the adults to lead the way, not the sniping children. Snarky is not smart. The snarky children need to take a back seat for a while, at least through November, at least so we can see if we can get through this election in any sort of positive way. So if you've got something snarky to write about her history, her history with men and blah, 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 not needed right now. That's not changing anybody's mind. That's not winning anybody over. We're not. We're not. That's not going to win the election. It isn't. So what I'm saying to you is continue to work. To continue to work. Work in your communities, work in your clubs, work in your executive committees. If you have funds to donate, the $3 and $5 donations, whatever you got, continue to do that if that's what you have. If you are a larger donor than that, please continue to do what you're doing. It is important. It's vital that you do that, and that you do it in the way that I suggested. What you can't do is you can't rest now. Yeah, I know her polls are booty. I know, but that is not going to be the way you win. I said this in a video a few days ago. What you can't do is take your foot off the gas. You must not take your foot off the gas. You must not take your foot off the gas. You must not. Continue to push forward, continue to work, continue to do the right things. If all you can do is pray, continue to pray. Please. All right. It's going to be a wild ride, baby. Anyway, we got to get out of here and make room for somebody else. And so until we see you again, go out there and learn something, love somebody. And for goodness sake, y'all take care of yourself. We will see you when we see you. Bye-bye now.